Acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf is joining us. Mr. Secretary, delighted to have you here. And I want to start with the discussion on President Trump's immigration restrictions. 60-day suspension on most immigration while the country tries to manage the pandemic. He's been criticized, but explain to us why this is important.
What this order does, as you indicated, is a 60-day pause on entry of new immigrants coming into the U.S. And these are individuals that are coming in that can compete with Americans for almost any job in almost any industry. And so the president was right in taking very decisive action to say, given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, given that there's over 26 million Americans that have filed unemployment claims recently, we need to take a pause as we open the country back up and we get out of this pandemic to make sure that Americans have the ability to re-enter the workforce, regain their jobs, regain their livelihood, and contribute again.
A lot of other countries are restricting Americans traveling into their country unless they are willing to go into quarantine. In some cases, just saying we can't come. So this is not that unusual. And I don't know why it's even controversial, Mr. Secretary, for the president to say that with almost 30 million Americans right now out of work, that there's no point in importing labor. Why is it even a point of discussion or controversy in Washington?
Well, Governor, as you know, anything when you start dealing with immigration becomes somewhat controversial and opinions get very heated very quickly. But that's not what is occurring here. We're in the middle of a global health crisis and a global pandemic. And as the country and the department, and I would say the president and the administration has taken great strides and really done a lot to try to open up the country and the economy in phases, in various phases. And part of that is making sure that Americans can regain and re-enter the workforce. And so this is really, from our perspective, very not controversial at all. In understanding that we've got millions and millions of Americans out of work, and we need to provide those jobs for them as they come back into the workforce.
Just this week, someone attempted to illegally cross the southern border, turned out to be infected with COVID-19. Folks from Border Patrol was able to keep that person from getting into the U.S. This simply prevents people from bringing the infection in. We've already got enough of it without importing it. Talk about your agents at the border, what they face day after day in trying not only to deal with just the issue of the border, but this added burden of COVID-19.
What we're talking about, and I think your question is very specific, on individuals crossing the border illegally. And that's equally as concerning for not only DHS, but really the frontline men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol and for Customs and Border Protection. And so we have new authorities under this global pandemic that turns individuals essentially right around at the border back to their home countries, whether it's Mexico, whether it's the Northern Triangle or elsewhere, making sure that those individuals are not in the care and custody of CBP or ICE. These are facilities that are not meant to have large numbers of individuals, perhaps with COVID, in our facilities. So it's for the protection of other migrants, it's for protection of our frontline workforce, but it's also for the protection of the American people. And so the case that you mentioned, Governor, is an individual, an Indian national, who illegally crossed our border, who tested positive. So CBP, we have a number of protocols that we've put in place over the last several months. They did exactly the right thing. They identified this individual had flu-like symptoms early on. They had him evaluated. They had him tested. It came back positive. And so we were able to segregate him and isolate this individual. And what that did, and the fact that we don't have thousands and thousands of individuals in our care and custody today, is really a testament to CBP. If you were to back up a year ago when we were in the middle of our southwest border crisis, we had thousands and thousands of individuals in Border Patrol stations up and down the southwest border. And if someone that's positive comes into that station and infects others, then you can see the issue that we would have all along the southwest border. And so using unique authorities that we have under this pandemic, we're actually able to prevent that. So the best protection that we can give the men and women of the Border Patrol is, again, this unique, what we call Title 42 authority that allows them to repatriate or to remove these individuals very, very quickly so they don't have to have prolonged exposure and contact to them.
You know, when I think of all the things that are on your plate at Homeland Security, and a lot of Americans don't realize it includes everything from TSA, Border Patrol. There's so many different sub-agencies that are a part of DHS. Let's talk about air travel. I know that there are several agencies involved in that, but TSA, the security portion of it is under your purview. What are we going to see going forward that may change our air travel experience?
I think we will see airline traffic continue to evolve. And I think we're going to see that in a number of industries. I don't think we're going to go back to what it was like pre-COVID. There'll be a new baseline of what is normal and what's normalcy. And we're taking a look at what that means for airline traffic here domestically as we move out of the pandemic.
Mr. Secretary, I don't know of anybody who's going to be busier than you in Washington because of all the things that you oversee. We're genuinely grateful to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again soon, and take care and God bless. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Governor.
You can follow the acting secretary on social media at DHS_Wolf and follow the agency's ongoing efforts and read weekly updates at DHS.gov.